So corporate still think we quitting because of COVID, huh? Good evening, party people. It's your favorite Aquarian Auntie Yael, aka Bleach Teach, and this is your news with a view. Up first, your stress is our stress. That's right, apparently somebody let corporate America in on the secret that their employees are actually human. More companies are now beginning to offer financial well-being planning for their employees because they realize that financial stress is still a type of stress. You know what's the best cure for financial stress? Money. And vacation time you can use. How about we combine both of them together? According to an article by CNBC, employers, ever the nurturing givers, are beginning to offer things like financial coaching as well as tuition assistance and emergency savings help to employees. Though I gotta say, the emergency savings help plan sounds like it would be excellent for those days when you're trying to decide between paying for a full tank of gas and lunch. Or would the financial coaching help better with that decision? These tools are some of the latest traps that employers are using to try to keep their employees from walking off the job. Because people really just want more time and money. How hard is this? We don't need a fucking coach to tell us that. Besides, if we wanted financial coaching, we would just hop on Instagram or Twitter and follow one of these gurus. It's not a boo for farming. I made that mistake, so you don't have to. Speaking of things that look like traps, the SEC finally released its meme stock report. You remember meme stocks, right? Where Reddit and Twitter users essentially pegged Wall Street by fucking them on some really bad bets. Kind of like what Wall Street did with our futures in the financial crisis of 2008. How did it feel, guys? Much to Wall Street's chagrin and Reddit users' delight, the report saw absolutely nothing wrong with what they did. In fact, it went so far as to praise the equity markets for having a robust structure, with agency chair Gary Gensler saying that January basically provided the markets with a learning opportunity on how we can continue to make them more fair and equitable. Speaking of bullshit, our last and final story comes from a CNBC article which states, and I quote, that 10% of the wealthiest Americans own 89% of all the stocks that are outstanding on the U.S. stock exchange. Those markets are looking pretty fair, Gary, which means that the bottom 90% of Americans, you know, the ones you're trying to offer financial coaching seminars to and wellness advice, they have to compete over 11% of the remaining shares on the marketplace. But if that fact doesn't make you want to scream into the void even louder, here's some context. There are 2,800 companies that are being traded just on the New York Stock Exchange, which is one of the many American exchanges that are around. Now, those 2,800 companies have about 9 million different types of stocks and securities that are just bouncing around all over the place every day, creating a total trading volume of about 1.46 billion shares a day. Now, according to U.S. Census data, there's only about 329 million Americans as is. That means 296.5 million people have to fight over less than a couple hundred million shares of stock to get rich. Oh, and let's not forget that most of the good stocks that are going to give you the kind of yield that the stock market promises are trading at well over $100 a share. No, America, I gotta say, it's not that your people don't want to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. It's that you keep dropping boots off at the boot factory instead of around the neighborhood. All jokes aside, though, as a 32-year-old millennial with a very entrepreneurial spirit, reading that I have to compete with almost 300 million other Americans for 11% of the market share pissed me off. Because I'm not your average left-leaning millennial. I don't say tax the rich because it's a buzzword. I'd say it because I spent the better part of my teenage years learning from your Robert Kiyosaki's and your T. Harv Ekers. Then realizing that those people were scammers who basically didn't know anything, I went to school for finance. which means I have an intimate understanding of both how the business world works, how the laws are set up to protect corporate entities, as well as protect their funds and investments because you want them to be the one providing and creating jobs in an economy. For all intents and purposes, I'm pretty much a capitalist baby. But seeing that 11% of the stocks on the market is all that's left for people like me who are trying to do the right thing and put their money aside and invest on a regular basis is fucking frustrating. And even more infuriating, I was taught how to invest in real estate. And to find out that 90% of the homes in cash flowing areas, meaning areas with high rental income, are basically being bought up by slumlord devil child invitation homes is daunting as fuck. And I'm one of the ones who practice manifestation, vision boarding, you name it, I do it. But a system that forces the bulk of its people to compete for resources amongst each other is a broken system. And it's not that there's anything wrong with free markets, because the marketplace has always been with us since we learned that, hey, if I grow a good, I can go ahead and take it to the market and we'll exchange some kind of currency and I can get another good in its place. This is a natural human interaction. There will always be products and goods and services. There will always be people who need products, goods, and services. Why the hell do we have to turn the marketplace into something that is reminiscent of fucking Thunderdome? But here's the real kicker. A lot of us won't even see a fraction of the opportunities for investment that we could potentially see because we don't stand a chance of being considered high net worth individuals. What does that mean? According to the Frank-Dodd Act, which was passed shortly after the recession, which fucked the majority of us over financially, after you subtract your liabilities from your assets, you need to be able to be worth $1 million liquid in order to be considered what's known as an accredited investor. As an accredited investor, you're basically able to get first dibs on some of these opportunities, which inherently are a lot more risky, but at the same time will provide you more reward for the level of investment that you're able to put into it. Basically, when you hear things like Jay-Z invested in such and such, it's because he's a high net worth individual, so he's able to get first dibs and get a good position in a company. And considering the average American household has about $53,000 worth of debt between car loans, student loans, and other things that were just needed for them to even get the jobs that they need to have. And the median household income is about $67,000. The average rent's about $1,100. Because make no mistake, the majority of us are not homeowners yet. And the cost of groceries, food, utilities, all of these different things. Most of us are barely surviving and pretty much living paycheck to paycheck. Oh, and this doesn't exclude you entrepreneurial motherfuckers who are small business owners either. Because y'all got overhead and expenses just like the rest of us working motherfuckers. So y'all can't invest in these opportunities either. So it's easy to see why things like meme stocks took off. Because we are literally in a fight for our lives and the lives of our children for resources right now. Granted, it's only money. But considering the earth is burning the way that it is, one day that money is going to turn into food and water and air and basic human rights like medical treatment. And these numbers aren't even factoring in the monkey wrench that is race, sexuality, gender, and disability. It's an unnecessary lion fight. But there's hope. Mark Cuban had an excellent video the other day on the Earn Your Leisure podcast where he was asked what he would do if he had $1,500 to invest in today. And initially, I didn't understand why Mark was saying what he was saying. But he recommended looking into decentralized finance along with cryptocurrency and learning up about as much as you can for it, because the most opportunity with the most egalitarian access, meaning you can get in for very small amounts, is cryptocurrency right now. And it's because crypto is still the Wild West right now. It's heavily risky. It's not properly regulated yet. Hell, the rich people don't even understand how to use the plays they normally use to get all of it. Hell, you got Michael Burry, the dude who made a fucking killing off of the recession because he saw the dominoes falling before anybody else did, asking how the fuck to short anything because the rules aren't quite set in stone yet. And you can very well lose your shirt. But if you want a fighting chance and you're tired of playing the fucking lottery or doing endless side hustles for less than $1,000 of extra cash a month, or competing against fucking hedge funds to buy property or buy stocks and equities, crypto's a valid option. And because I'm a giver, I'm going to give you the one piece of advice that you need in order to survive out in the West. Everything else is going to be up to the amount of due diligence that you do, the research that you do, the experts that you follow, the white papers that you read, and just the way that you're able to piece the stories together. But the key to knowing whether or not something is a good investment is how well the thing you're investing in is adapting to the environment around it and the changes that it's making accordingly. As long as that story makes sense, that's all you can really do. And hope for the best. Don't invest in something because your cousin's barber's uncle's brother's baby mother's sister twice removed on his auntie's side told you that you should get into this particular thing because it's the next hottest thing. At the end of the day, if you're going to risk your shirt, risk it because it's something that you believe in. It's not like Wall Street and the rest of them are actually putting much faith in us anyway. And if that doesn't work, maybe we can always pawn the coaching classes. Seriously, you think we could use the emergency savings plans as collateral? I got an idea. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.